All right, get the sound right. Good afternoon, everybody. The governor will be here shortly, so I will attempt to fill in for the governor and say a few preliminary things before he gets here with the featured attraction, our friend Babydog. So I'm Dave Hardy. I'm the Secretary of Revenue for the state of West Virginia. And those of you that don't know me, it makes me really happy here to be in a fire department because I love volunteer fire departments. I was a county commissioner in Charleston for 16 years. We had 27 volunteer fire departments and 5 paid fire departments, and I loved every one of them. And I was a member of Charleston City Council for 6 years. So I understand very much how important local government is. And how one of the things I want to talk to you about here today is a threat to local government, and that threat is called Amendment 2. But before I go there, let me tell you about Governor Jim Justice. He and I started together at the Capitol in January of 2017, and the first report that we were given was that the state of West Virginia, for the remaining of the fiscal year of 2017, and there were 5.5 months left, the state of West Virginia was $217 million in the hole when we got there. Then we got the second report, the report for fiscal year 18, and it said that the state was going to be $497 million in the hole. So when we arrived there in January of 17, the state of West Virginia had red brackets around our numbers, and we were about $700 million down. Now, that was our starting point. Now let me tell you where we are today. June 30th of 2022, we closed our books this year, and we made history. And as all of us, regardless of your political party or where you're from or part of West Virginia you're from, we should all be celebrating this together. West Virginia finished fiscal year 22 on June 30th at a $1,308,000,000 surplus. And I think we ought to give ourselves a round of applause. Now, to have that happen takes a lot of hard work by a lot of people. And I will say this though, we just closed the books for our first quarter of fiscal year 23, and our numbers for the first 3 months of this fiscal year are even better than they were last fiscal year. So we are going great. And the governor said in July, let's start coming up with a way where we can let the people of West Virginia receive some of their tax dollars back. And we all know where we are right now. 40-year high inflation. Everybody's feeling this. My mother told me the other day, I took her to Kroger's, and she said, the cost of Downy is so high that I'm going to start putting water in my Downy. All right? That's what 90-year-old mothers say. So the governor said, let's see if we can come up with a plan, and we'll go big. Let's look at trying to eliminate the state income tax in West Virginia. Why the state income tax? Why would you choose that? Research shows, this is from the Tax Foundation, research shows that the 9 states out of 41 or out of 50 that don't have a state income tax, in the last decade, those states grew twice as fast from a population standpoint as the other 41 states. Well, we know West Virginia needs to grow its population. And secondly, those same states, and I'm talking about Texas, Florida, Tennessee, South Dakota, Nevada, Alaska, those same states grew their economies 56% faster than the other 41 states. And then the icing on the cake was this. All the research shows, all of it, that telework is now. It's not a future concept anymore, it's now. Teleworkers are happening all over the country. More and more people are going to be working out of their homes. And the research on this is one of those things you research, but you kind of know the answer before you research it. Teleworkers want to go where? Where do teleworkers want to go? They want to go where taxes are low, right? So if you're living in Maryland and you're told by your employer you can telework and you can cross over into West Virginia and work out of your bedroom in West Virginia or out of your den at home and not pay any state income tax, you're much more likely to want to move to West Virginia. So when you added all that up, the governor's plan was in July, and he put it in front of the legislature, his plan was that we were going to cut the state income tax immediately by 10%. That's $271 million. They're not going to corporate pockets, going to West Virginia's working pockets, people that are paying income taxes in West Virginia. That bill was drafted, it was introduced in front of the legislature, it passed the House of Delegates in one day. But it didn't even get voted on by the West Virginia State Senate. State Senate didn't vote. Decided that they did not want to take up the bill that would have put $271 million instant dollars in West Virginia's pockets. Instead, the State Senate wants to support Amendment 2. What is Amendment 2? Now we're into history and we're into talking about something that might be on the Golden Horseshoe Test someday. In 1932, West Virginia put in its constitution by a vote of the people, because all constitutional amendments have to be voted on by the people, a section that says in our Constitution that our property taxes that we pay have to remain with local government. By local government, I mean county commissions, cities, school boards. County commissions fund places like this very volunteer fire department that we're sitting in. And the plan is to take amendment, do this Amendment 2, which will be voted on November 7th, November 8th, 2022, and to amend the Constitution and say, rather than property taxes be constitutionally guaranteed to local government, as they have been since November of 1932, 90 years, we're going to let the legislature decide how to allocate and divvy up the property taxes that are being paid by all of us locally. So the plan is we're going to capture control of the property taxes, and then the legislature says, don't worry, not a problem. Forevermore, we will give the property tax revenues back to the counties and back to the school boards through the state budget process. So every year from now on, starting if this amendment passes in 2024 all the way to 2094, the West Virginia legislature will decide how much local property tax revenue comes back to the place that it originated from, local government. So, Amendment 2 is about losing local control and giving up your $550 million of property taxes across this beautiful state to the West Virginia legislature, and then relying on the West Virginia legislature to give the money back. That sounds really good in a concept, but let me tell you about the West Virginia state budget. There's plenty of people in here that understand this budget. This budget has all sorts of issues. It always has and it always will. Medicaid, pensions. How about other things such as PEIA? All those things, the jail bill, all those things put a strain on the state budget. 10 years ago, West Virginia couldn't even balance its budget. And we had to go to the rainy day fund and take out over $100 million just to balance our budget. And don't forget state employee pay raises, many of which are deserved. So if you want county and state, city government and school boards to get in line behind all the above, then you might want to support Amendment 2. If you want that revenue baked into the Constitution and it stays right here, constitutionally guaranteed, then you might want to vote no for Amendment 2. Now there's a lot of talk about property taxes on your car and your vehicles. And I'll let the governor today describe his plan, but it's a real simple plan. That was put in Amendment 2 as bait. That was put in as bait. Vote for this, you'll get your $145 million of car tax back, but 2/3 of it will go to big business and corporations. So you're getting a third. You're getting a third there. 2/3 goes elsewhere. Well, the governor took care of that this week. He now has a bill to put in place where everybody in the state of West Virginia, through a portal on the state tax website, can submit a receipt for their personal property taxes and receive a check back dollar for dollar. So now it's no longer about the property tax on your car. So if you want $271 million personal income tax, you want $145 million back in your pocket for your car tax, then you vote no on Amendment 2. If you want to put the people of West Virginia into a $900 million obligation on the state budget and give $350 to $400 million to big businesses, out-of-state corporations, you vote yes. And with that, I'll look back to see, is the governor here yet, Jordan? Okay, one other thing. There's been a lot of discussion about we need to improve the business climate in West Virginia. Well, sure we do. And this governor has hit one home run after another, and some of it with the help of John Musgrave, getting Nucor to come right here on this river. But let's don't forget, this governor understands business. And I want you to look on this poster at all the things that West Virginia has done to help the business climate in the last 10 years. It's a remarkable list. So don't fall for the idea that Amendment 2 is going to help business more than we've already helped business. Look at this list here. We've reduced the severance tax on steam coal. We've eliminated the severance tax on timber. Further down the page, and this is remarkable, we have cut workers' comp rates, insurance rates in this state for 18 straight years, saving employers $446 million. This year, 2022, West Virginia, and we should all be proud of this, these are good things, West Virginia reduced the unemployment tax that our employers pay. We've done one thing after another to help business. And the governor's idea is, we've done great. We're doing well. We're having all sorts of accomplishments. We've got more people lined up to meet with our economic development folks than ever. But at the same time, individual West Virginians are hurting very badly. Do you see that Social Security cost of living increase? 8.7%. 480,000 people in West Virginia receive Social Security. Good for them that they got an 8.7% increase, but all it does is keep you up with inflation. The average car tax in West Virginia is $225 per vehicle. The average West Virginian will receive a tax cut, if we just cut the state income tax 10%, $275. So the average West Virginian, on average, not a company, an individual, is going to receive $500 immediately if the West Virginia legislature will take up the governor's plans. These plans don't require a constitutional amendment. They require a vote of the House of Delegates, a vote of our state Senate. It'd be nice if our state Senate would vote on it, and the signature of the governor. And I promise you the governor will sign those bills. Now, I believe the governor is Jordan. I believe he's pulling up right now. So let me say this about the governor. This is the man that in 5 years and 3 months took West Virginia from a $700 million hole in the ground to a $1.3 billion surplus. That's a $2 billion swing. So we ought to listen to what he has to say about how to lead West Virginia. And the people of West Virginia I believe in this governor. So with everything further being said, I will introduce you to the 36th governor of the state of West Virginia, the Honorable Jim Justice and Babydog.
Well, I thought Dave would talk to you longer. And since we've got so much congestion, I just left Babydog there. But okay, let me tell you this. And I know we've got senators here and delegates here, and thank y'all for coming, and that's good. And the one thing that I don't want to do or I won't do is I'm here to present to you what I think. I'm not here to debate with senators or delegates or anything what they think and I think. I'm here to tell you from Jim Justice's standpoint exactly how I feel. And they have their own forums, and they've gone around all over Kingdom Come, and they've talked, and I've surely not interfered, nor would I. That's just not me. I think, in this wonderful country, in this wonderful state we have the ability to express our freedoms and our views, and then let the voters decide. That's what we should do in life. Now, here's how I see this whole thing. I see this as we couched Amendment 2 and we advertise ourselves in commercials as saying, Amendment 2, you vote for Amendment 2 and you'll get rid of your car tax. And basically then, why did we do that? We did that, in my opinion again, because that's the bait we needed to get it passed. And it would not pass without that. Because basically then what we were really saying is, we're really doing this to pass a machinery and inventory tax, and at the end of the day, especially with the times we have today, the machinery and inventory tax, while I am not opposed to the idea that it would, if you're looking at, well, let's get rid of all taxes. Well, I'd be in favor of getting rid of them all tomorrow. The only downside of this whole thing is just one thing, is we just can't afford to do it without risk. Now, we can afford to do it at this moment, right this second, maybe. But there is with it, no matter what the numbers that you're presented with, there's a level of risk. Now, let me just equate to you the level of risk. We don't know that right this very second, there's not a nuclear weapon on the way to a destination in Ukraine right now. Putin has said he's going to do it. And let's just say that, God forbid, and I don't really think that that's going to happen, but let's just say, God forbid, it did happen. What would the next thing be? Well, the next thing would happen is just this. The stock market would go to 10,000 just like that. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. If the stock market went to 10,000, our rainy day fund is going to very quickly get in real trouble. And then if we don't prop it up, our bonds are going to go poof right out the window. And if our bonds go poof right out the window, then the interest rates are already going through the roof in lots of different areas and everything. And before you know it, I've said it a million times, do happens. All you got to do is just spin around in the wrong direction and boom, something bad can happen. I really believe that we should do anything and everything we can to try to give our citizens, first and foremost, some level of tax relief. That's why I came out, back in July or whenever it was and said, let's just give a 10% tax cut to all of our citizens right now. It seemed completely benign to me because I thought, well, Lord of mercy, Republicans control the House and they control the Senate, and I'm a Republican and everybody in the Republican Party is for a tax break. Well, it's just the simplest thing in the world to do. Inflation is eating us up. Gasoline prices are $5. Nobody knew where they were going to really go to. And in the grocery stores, you know what you're faced with every day. So the least we could do is just do that. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. The House jumped on board, and in one day, the House said, we're good, we're good. And then it just stopped. Well, why did it stop? Now, we can say all kinds of different things in lots of different directions, but the one thing, all I can do is, to the very best of my abilities, tell you what I perceive to be the truth. The reason I think it stopped was because they needed all the money. The money, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, was the machinery and inventory tax. Naturally, they put with it the car tax, but they needed all the money. And it just stopped. And I thought, well, for God's sakes, living, what is wrong with us? So we went round and round and round, and I offered 15 different gyrations and said, let's just get together and talk. Let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. Let's figure this out. And literally, at the end of the day, everything that was proposed, and a lot of it was proposed by Eric Householder, because Householder loves the tax, the personal income tax deal. And Eric, every time he said, every time I proposed anything, it was just no, 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 no. So then here we are. No, 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 no. Now Amendment 2 is running, and I really believe with all in me that we're about to put ourselves at risk big, big, big time in order to do one thing: get rid of your car tax. And so I told Dave Hardy, Mark Mukow, I told them, and I said, find me a way. Find me a way that I can take that off the table. And then let the voters vote on Amendment 2. And Amendment 2 literally then becomes just this. Do you want to give up local control and let Charleston run your life? Do you absolutely want to put at risk real big money? Do you really and truly want to reward, in many cases, big, big corporations that are out of state? Or do you really want to take care of people that have a paycheck to contend with today? What do you want to do? This is not about the car tax anymore. No matter what they come up with or what they say, this is not about the car tax anymore. That's completely off the table. These people came up with a way to rebate you instantaneously the dollars back on your car tax, and do it that quick. For all practical purposes, it's an electronic transaction in 87% of the cases. 87, so dollar for dollar, cent for cent, you're going to get your money back on your car tax. Now they may very well say, and God knows, and guys, I don't know how you look yourself in the mirror and do such a thing as this. I don't know how in the world you go and run a commercial that says get rid of your car tax, indicating that that's what Amendment 2 really is about. and then turn around and I come out with a way to rebate the thing and get rid of your car tax, and you say, well, the red tape and the government this and that, and that's just growing a bush to hide behind. And then even threaten people to say, if you don't vote for Amendment 2, you could very well wake up to the fact that we won't allow your car tax for you to be able to get rid of your car tax. Now, let me tell you this. Sure, to God above, we're not that bad. Surely we're not that bad. I mean, these people are hurting. I know they're hurting. And I know it could get a lot worse. And there's that little girl back there. It's what this is really all about. This isn't all about being wedded to, manufacturers or great big companies. This isn't about anything except, to me, just the truth. Now, we may come back and say, well, I got a plan, and the plan is get rid of the car tax, get rid of the machinery inventory tax, and get on a pathway to instantly get rid of your personal income tax. And I'm going to say to you just this. I may not look it, but I will promise you to God above that of all those folks in Charleston, I'm the best business numbers guy down there. And I can tell you that numbers can come and go in a lot of different directions, and I'm not going to be fooled by numbers very often. And I can tell you that when you today, just because that sun's shining and everything's all good, and you just believe that you can all of a sudden that quick, you can get rid of car tax, machinery inventory, personal income tax, and you can absolutely get rid of $800 or $900 million worth of revenue, and then all of a sudden you're guaranteed that you're going to run around and give all the counties an extra $1 million and all that kind of stuff. Well, it sounds really great. But I'm going to tell you the only thing you best better listen to me about, and if you don't, I'm okay with that. You see, I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to present to you what Jim Justice believes. Jim Justice thoroughly believes that this is risky, and absolutely Jim Justice knows that there's going to be a point in time when there is something that is a major bump in the road. And if you have given all of your control that you've had since 1932 back to a bunch of politicians, and these people may be the greatest, I may be the greatest, and none of them may be here. Politicians come and go. I'll be gone. I mean, all you've got to do is just use your brain and think, if all you want to do is rid of your car tax, I've got the mechanism to do that, and we can do that tomorrow. If they would say to me, bring it tomorrow, I'll bring it to special session tomorrow and let them vote on it and pass it, and we'll be at sending checks back to you day after tomorrow. But they won't do that. And the reason they won't do that is they're wedded to this. And they're wedded to this because of promises to great big companies. Now, I am the first person in the world that would say, and you got to hear me. You got to hear me on this. I love the fact that out-of-state companies come. I mean, God, I'm the business guy. I'm the business guy here. And the other thing I tell you that will blow you flat away is just this. Without any question, I'll bet you all the money in Texas, there is nobody here that would benefit from the machinery and inventory tax as much as me. And I'm telling you, don't do it. I would benefit to the tune of millions. Millions. And you may say, well, Justice doesn't need it. And I would say, do you read all the stuff in the papers? Our companies have had a tough go of it. And I'll tell you exactly why. Because when 55 coal companies across this country took bankruptcy when the coal market was really bad, I didn't do it. And it has been hell on wheels, that's all there is to it, ever since every day of that. And so if you just think that injustice is land, there's money, 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 I'm telling you, injustice is land, there's lots of stuff, but injustice is land, things God knows we could really use exactly that millions that we're talking about. But you see, I didn't sign on for something for Jim Justice. I didn't do it. Now these people know me, and they know my heart. John does too. They know me. And literally, at the end of the day, I signed on to do exactly what is the right thing to do, and that's serve and not want anything. I don't want nothing. I never have. At the end of the day, literally, you've given me an honor beyond belief and let me be your governor. And I'm going to do what's right. And at the end of the day, if you decide that you want to pass Amendment 2, I'll be as respectful as I can be to all of you. You see, because in very, very short order, I'll be gone. In 2 years from today, I'll be gone. And probably in that 2-year period, things are going to be as good as they could possibly be. I could ride in every parade, I could cut every ribbon, and at the end of the day, if you were really fair, you're probably going to step back and say, greatest governor we ever had. 10-1. Greatest governor we ever had. Took us from bankruptcy to that rocket ship ride beyond belief, took us through everything from redoing our parks to our roads to everything coming from greatest we ever had. And I just fade off into the sunset. So why on God's earth am I sitting here now? Why am I doing this? And it's because I really believe in my heart wholeheartedly we're making a colossal mistake. Now, you got to decide. And this is not again for debate. It's for your decision. You know, I truly believe that if things happen that can happen that aren't good, absolutely without any question, here's the model that will be run, because I've seen it. The first attack will be on higher ed, because we absolutely believe that WVU's getting all this money and Marshall's getting all this money and everything. They don't need that money and everything, and we'll nail them if we need the money. The next thing that'll happen is we'll say to you, well, you as a county, you know you've got a bunch of waste. Why don't you just cut 15% out of all the counties? You know you've got all this waste, you know. Well, let me tell you, when I walked in the door, we, for all practical purposes, kept everything pretty dead-gum flat, and we've reduced the number of state employees since I walked in the door. But if tomorrow you said to any of us, you said to anybody in government, okay, big boy or big girl, you think there's waste in Mason County, you tell me what you want to cut. And then let's add it up, and it won't add up to anything but pennies, and if it adds up to anything substantial, you'd hang them. Because many of us are still just hanging on by a thread, and many people are trying to do the very best that they can possibly do. Now look, I remember, one thing I'm like is an elephant. I don't forget anything. But I remember when I walked in the door and our state was as bankrupt could be. And I remember that the knowledge, the imagination and everything of what are we going to do, It was limited to one and only one thing, and that is cut. Cut. We've cut our way for the last 3 years before I got there. Cut. And you know what we did? Every time we cut, we just drug the hole right with us. Because every time we cut more, once you get down at some point in time, the waste is gone. Now you're cutting into the bone. And when you start cutting into the bone, really and truly more people left. And as more people left, we just drug the hole right with us. Now you think about it. The day I walked in the door, for the 6-month period that we were there, we were going to be $217 million more short. The first year that I was there, they projected 497 more million. And a couple of years after that, it grew to 772 more million. Nowhere to turn. No idea. No nothing other than cut. And what did we do? We took off on a pathway of ideas. We changed our image. I said right off the get-go, let's make education our centerpiece. Well, why did I do that? You know, naturally, we still got big hurdles in education, and we want to make education a lot better, a lot better. And we absolutely want to make it where people have a choice and do all those things. But in all that, why did I do that? Because the people on the outside thought we were absolutely so backward that we couldn't do anything. We had to get on a pathway of changing our image. You see, the number one thing that people look at and want to ask about before they come to a state, company, whatever, is how are your schools? And the second thing, how are your roads? And those are your standards of life. And isn't that the very thing that I zeroed in on like crazy? And now you got orange cone all over. And let me just, I've got it, before I quit, let me just tell you this. The reason I went by you and went up the road, because when I was at Marshall, and on a cold, dreary night and everything, a plane went down and I was in the dorm there. I can't tell you the trips I made right down that road right there, going to McClinic in the early duck season, and I'd go up there by myself day after day after day after day, and then go back to class. But I'd go there and go to the office. They'd draw names or draw tags to see which blind you went to or pond you went to. And we'd go out there and hunt just a second, then back to school I'd go. I hadn't been there for a long time. And I was this close, I wanted to just see, I wanted to see really if it was still even there. You know, many of those ponds I've been out in and wading in chest waders, and a lot of them, they're not very deep. They look deeper than they are. I can remember one day there and everything, a fellow that was my size, and I was skinny and had brown hair then. He had chest waders on and he kind of stumbled backwards and just sat down in the water that was only about 1.5 feet deep, and the water was just eking in right over the back of his chest waders. His name was Jeff Lilly, and Jeff was my best buddy, and his dad was with us, and literally the suction of the mud, we couldn't get him up. And we pulled and pulled and pulled on him forever and a day, and finally we got him up. But in all honesty, live in paradise right here. The only thing I would tell you is just this. To me, we got the order of how we're doing this wrong. Sure, we need to do a car tax. You don't like the car tax, get rid of it. We got the money to get rid of it, just do it. But what we need to do is we need to sit down with these people because they're smart and they're good people. And we need to sit down in a room with the brains of the brains and try to figure out how in the world we can first and foremost start on a pathway of getting rid of your personal income tax. And secondarily, let that do what we know it will do, drive growth. And as it drives growth, more and more and more and more goodness are happening in West Virginia. And on the backside, get rid of the machinery and inventory tax. We have got it backwards. And if we don't watch out, what we're going to do is we're going to stop the discussion because we can't afford it. We're going to stop the discussion on the personal income tax, and then we're going to turn right around and take your control away from the counties. We're not going to really put a whole lot of money back in the pockets of the individuals that are hurting because of inflation, and we're going to blow our blooming legs off. And that's what I think. Now, at the end of the day, we could go on and on and on. And I don't really believe, because we did this in Parkersburg and it turned into a little semi-food fight and everything where people had ideas and they have their forums. So I would go talk at your forums, you know. But I truly mean this when I tell you, I am a Republican and dadgum proud of it. Now think about it. When we stumbled around having trouble with the life or the abortion bill, I told you, the second that guy came to me, if it had reason and logic, I'd sign it and say I did it. Boom. I've stood up for Amendment 1. I've stood up for all of our gun rights. I've appointed every conservative judge known to man. I have done all the business stuff that you can do. I am proud of it. I am really, really, really proud of it. And I think these are great people, and I love them, you know, but I really believe that you expect me and you trust me to tell you that we can have a real problem here. I think we're doing it ass backwards, and I think we're doing it ass backwards because we're wedded to something and we can't get away from it. Now, when we passed the resolution in the House and the Senate, it seemed so benign. You know, the House and the Senate wanted to be able to pass whatever type of legislation that basically then they have the control, and the counties, you're just kind of winging it. And at the end of the day, if they pass something that changes your structure and the money there's no way for the money to flow to because the money's dried up and gone. Again, they could maybe tell you about anything, but I tell you what's going to happen. You're going to be in Charleston. You're going to be lobbying against one another. Everything in the world's going to be spinning around, and before you know it, if the money just dries up just a little bit, you're in trouble. You're in real trouble. And we got all kinds of challenges, and we're doing really good. My dad would say, what in the world is wrong with us? I mean, why in the world try to fix it if it's running right? You know? And I would be the first to tell you that honestly, you can blow your own legs off by some righteous idea and then be in real trouble. Now look, last night, I don't know if it was 2, or the night before that it was 5, and the dumbest thought in the history of all time, how on God's earth Democrats in Washington, D.C. could come up with the thought, defund the police. How could anybody come up with such a thought? And then last night, 2 more dead. The day before that, 5 more shot. What if you've got 30 in this county? And what if things get just a little tough? If any of y'all don't believe for a second that the coal market, people that have been dealing with the coal market forever have lived their whole blooming life boom bust, boom bust, boom bust. The same thing's going to happen with gas, whether it be boom bust, boom bust. What happens if we get in a situation to where you have to make a decision. Can you get by with 27 policemen here rather than 30? Can you get by with 18 firemen instead of 21? And why? Somebody, pray tell me why. Why we have to do this today? I mean, do you realize this is honestly true as true can be? And I'm not giving them a hard time in any way. But I could fill it all out here for you and show you. But we made a mistake that will go down in history. Somebody will really get it right. And you don't have coal here right here. But we made a mistake not to tier the severance tax on coal and oil and gas. And I begged them. And honestly, the biggest coal operator in the state, Bob Murray, begged them to do it. Begged them. And we blew it. We just blew it. The biggest mistake in the history of this state, period. Now, stay with me just 1 second mathematically. I just want you to hear me out just a second. Those 55 coal companies I'm talking about that took bankruptcy, lots and lots and lots of them did, they cleansed their balance sheet. Banks got kind of stiff, vendors maybe stiff. And then all of a sudden now, think where we are. Now we've got $200 a ton steam prices, profit margins like you can't believe. None of us could even fathom. But I know it because my company's in the coal business. Now we're sputtering around and we're teeny guys. But I know exactly what I'm talking about. Profit margins that approach maybe $100 million a month. Now I'm about to end. Stay with me 1 more minute. Is it really right? Is it really right to give a company that could be possibly making that kind of money a break where they're not paying property taxes on their bulldozers or inloaders or whatever it may be, and literally have the family out there that's worried about how on God's earth they're going to buy groceries and say, nope, we're not really going to do anything with you. We're going to do this, and what we're going to do is hope that somebody's going to go out here and level a spot, and by that then somebody will come. Industry will come. When you got me sitting right here, and Daniel's been a person that's been a cheerleader in every way for broadband, and we're going like crazy right now. And you got me sitting right here that's done Berkshire Hathaway and Nucor and good Lord knows, Pure Watercraft and Green Power and everybody. And you got me sitting here to God above, and that's serious business with me now. Really serious business with me. To God above, not the first company yet that said, we'd come to West Virginia if you didn't have a machinery and inventory tax. To me, we just got it backwards. That's all there is to it. To think you can do it all at one time, big time risk. I'm not a real believer in the numbers, big time risk. I absolutely believe if you go this way on day one, you'll never hardly get back to the personal income tax because there'll be some dupe happen, and then who knows what'll go on. Last of my last, small building authority right today, we have X number of dollars. What we're looking at is bids that are almost, have been told at least, bids that are 50% up because of inflation. So the dollars don't go anywhere. You've got a situation right now as we speak that over the next few years we're going to have to put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars up as matching dollars from the state in order to get federal dollars of $6 billion or whatever it may be for roads and infrastructure and broadband and whatever it may be. It's right now in front of us. What if happens and we don't have the money to do that? I love you, and I love all y'all, and I got all the respect for you in the whole wide world. I really mean it. I owe my whole life in every way to all the goodness that you bring. As long as I have, and God gives me breath, I'm going to try to tell you what I think. And I think we got to end at that. So listen, it's crunch time, and it's decision time. I don't think we need to hold anybody hostage about their car tax. I think they need to get their car tax no matter what. I tried to come up with a mechanism to be able to do that. Take it off the table. Now go vote. Go vote. Do you want to change the Constitution? Do you really and truly want to do that? Do you want to put your faith in the hands of politicians? Me. Do you want to do that? You don't have to do that now. And first and foremost, more than anything, period, we need to recognize the people that are hurting today and do something. Do something to put money back in their pocket today. That's all there is to it. We could figure this out if we left all the special interests at the side and we said they don't matter. The big companies, the big lobbyists that are absolutely just promising campaign donations and we'll be behind you in the next gubernatorial race or whatever the race may be, all the stuff we got to lay aside. We're not here to do that. We're here to do one thing, and that's serve you. That's it. That's it. Period. We're not here for the next office. Now, I've got to end by saying this. I'm going to end on something that's not very pretty. I've had a lot of happy times and good stuff being your governor, and I've had a lot of tough times. This pandemic's been horrible, horrible. And today, we're well over 7,450 people. I think we're 7,470 folks that we've lost. It's touched every one of y'all, and it's surely touched me too. Now, through all that, there is only one thing that I never would have believed. I'd have never believed it, no matter what anybody says. I'd have never believed it, no matter what. You see, these folks get $20,000, and then some per diem or whatever it may be, to come down to Charleston. And a lot of them sometimes are away from their family for 60 days. And it's tough stuff. And a lot of them are catching crap all the time from the newspaper or whatever, all the time. I never in my life the most surprised thing that has ever happened to Jim Justice in government is one thing, and it really surprised you. I never would have believed that anybody there would be there if they didn't first and foremost, beyond belief, have the very first thing in their life be there to serve. In too many situations there, and way too many situations in Washington, D.C., too many people, not these folks, too many people are there for the next office. They're there for something that some way ties to them first and the folks second. And that's no good. That's no good. And that won't work with me. It just won't work. And you can say, oh, justice is full of horse manure, and that's okay. That's okay with me. Because you see, my dad would just say this and then I'm done. My dad would say, son, if I know and the good Lord knows, nobody else matters. And I know exactly that I'm telling you the truth. And the good Lord knows it too. At the end of the day, we should only be there for one thing. People are skimmering and scammering in every direction known to man right as we speak on the election. We should be there for one thing. Just one thing. And that's to serve the people. D.C. is a clown show, and you know it. You know it. My God of living, you know, and I'm not here to preach on politics, but the Biden administration is the god-awful mess in the history of the entire universe. The universe, you know. Now, we are an unbelievable country, and we're unbelievably strong. But that doesn't mean, I'll end with one other little thought. Think about this. The Soviet Union had invaded Afghanistan. They had invaded Georgia. Absolutely, the Soviet Union, Jimmy Carter was in office, and literally we were in his blue jean suit, and absolutely it looked like the whole world was going haywire. Interest rates were 20%, inflation was there close to it. We'd given away the Panama Canal, we were boycotting the Olympics. We were absolutely had a grain embargo against Russia, 100 people hostage in Iran. It looked like we were going right up in flames. And the Soviet Union was so powerful, it was off the chart. And then they spun around 3 times, and Ronald Reagan was here, and he's standing saying, Gorbachev, tear down that wall. And they crumbled. They crumbled that quick. How can you possibly not think it can happen to us? Literally, we're strong, and we're an ungodly great country, and have every strength known to man. But I'm telling you, they were invincible beyond belief, and that fast they crumbled. And that's why I say what's going on in D.C., God knows, please don't let this grow to Charleston, West Virginia. I won't be here very much longer. Then you'll be on your own. But absolutely, I mean it when I tell you that I love you, and I absolutely mean it when I tell you that we cannot become D.C. That's all I got. Let's call this a day.